already read so many books that I was excited about it.
Yeah.
So I was like, oh, I'm guaranteed. I'm a sure thing. A terrible childhood. Like, I'm guaranteed to make it. Like, all of the heroes and all of these stories.
This is where it all begins.
Poor girl Cinderella's cleaning the chimney. The
It's like,
stepmother's awful.
you're
all
like,
her
I'm right on
sisters
track.
Oh, I'm like, God, you really know how to do it. Like, no, this is why you leave at 13.
That's right.
I get it, Jesus.
Yes.
The moment this story starts, I want you to get ready for something deep, emotional, and unforgettable, because what Katt Williams finally revealed with Michelle Obama is something nobody expected. And trust me, you will want to watch this video all the way to the very end, because every part of his journey gets more shocking, more inspiring, and more unbelievable. It's not just comedy, it's not just pain, it's not just survival. It's a life story that sounds like a movie, but every part of it really happened. And once you hear what Katt shared in front of Michelle Obama and her brother Craig Robinson, you will never look at Katt Williams the same way again. Stay right here, don't click away, because the most powerful parts are coming. It all started with a simple moment.
Books just shaped me into this. So, for example, I can remember young figuring out that my mother and father didn't really love me, but
A calm setting, a cozy vibe on Martha's Vineyard. Michelle Obama and Craig Robinson were sitting in what looked like a barn, but let's be real, it was a luxury hideaway with clean beams, perfect wood, and a calm breeze. A Rivian was parked outside, and everything felt warm, peaceful.
but they took really good care of me. And
How could you? What made you say they didn't love you? What did they do that left you with that feeling?
Nothing. I just, I was reading so many books.
Almost too perfect. Michelle was laughing, Craig was joking, and the whole mood felt like a family moment. They were talking about houses, kids, animals, golf courses, and all the small things that make life simple and fun. But the second Michelle said, "We have Katt Williams here today," everything shifted. The air changed. The room changed. Even Michelle's voice softened because she knew this wasn't going to be a normal conversation.
And I was seeing so many stories, and I was just trying to figure out where I fit in with these stories, if I was that type of person. And I realized
Katt walked in like a man carrying his whole life with him. He came in humble, quiet, alert, almost like a kid walking into the principal's office, waiting to see what happens next. Michelle and Craig praised him right away. World tours, sold-out arenas, the Heaven on Earth tour, decades of comedy, a top comedian worldwide. But when Michelle asked
that my mother never kissed me, right? And that there was this dynamic that existed in other households that I didn't have in mine. But I was, at that time, I had already read so many books that I was excited about it.
Yeah.
So I was like, oh, I'm guaranteed. I'm a sure thing. A terrible child.
asked him the simple question, how did you become Katt Williams? He didn't give a celebrity answer. He didn't talk about Hollywood, fame, luck, or a dream. He went straight into the truth, and it cut deeper than anyone expected. He said the thing that shaped his whole life wasn't school, TV, or movies. It was books. Childhood books, war stories, fairy tales, biographies, thousands of them, because he wasn't allowed to do anything else. Katt explained that he grew up in a strict home with parents who were Jehovah's Witnesses, high up in the organization. No TV, no movies, no dances, no sleepovers, no regular childhood. His world was tiny, controlled, shaped by rules, and the only window he had to escape was reading. So he read everything. Cinderella stories, stories about kids in pain, kids in chaos, kids with evil stepmothers, kids hiding in chimneys, kids who had nothing but still found a way to become something.
Terrible childhood? Like I'm guaranteed to make it. Like all of the heroes and all
this
of these
is where
stories,
it all
this
begins.
Poor girl Cinderella's cleaning the chimneys.
It's
The stepmother's awful.
You're
all
like,
her
I'm right
sisters
on
are-
track.
Oh, I'm like, God, you really know how to do it. Like, no, this is why you leave at 13.
That's right.
I get it, Jesus.
Yes.
You know,
Way
and
to
so-
turn it around. Cat, way to
But
turn it
understand-
around.
Stories weren't entertainment for him. They were messages, signs. He looked at those kids and saw himself. And at just 6 years old, yes, 6, he made a decision most adults never make. He turned his trauma into a prediction. He said his mother took care of him, but she never kissed him. There was no warmth, no hugs, no softness. So instead of breaking, he treated his sadness like destiny. At 6 years old, he said, I'm a sure thing. I'm meant to make it. Imagine that, a little boy realizing his pain was part of the path, not the end. He saw himself as the kid in the story who rises, the one treated unfairly, the one God lifts out of the fire. And that's when the idea was born. One day, he would leave.
I'm that early.
Yeah.
Like,
Wow.
Because
How old?
like 6.
Yeah.
Yeah. I had already made the decisions at 6 just because once you've read thousands of books, you see that all of these stories are similar and that you're gonna make it through. Like they're like depression is the worst disease.
Not as a runaway, but as a mission, a calling. Michelle had to stop him right there. 6? She asked, surprised. But Katt didn't blink. He said yes. By 6, he already had the blueprint. Pain, escape, survival, greatness. And that blueprint...
They're wonderful, but
What's your relationship like with them today?
I love them today, same as I always do. I'm more that they got more respect from me for how great of a job that they did, even when the feelings weren't there, you know, and I appreciated.
Blueprint is what pushed him later at 13 to do the unthinkable. Not 18, not 16, 13. Most kids at 13 can't go to the store alone, but Katt packed a full suitcase, grabbed a Rottweiler puppy, saved up $1,200 from mowing lawns and shoveling snow with 60 clients, and made up his mind. He wasn't just leaving home, he was stepping into the biggest chapter of his life. He walked into a truck stop wearing dress clothes because that's all his parents allowed him to wear. He scanned license plates looking for warm states. He wanted Los Angeles, but a man heading to Miami said yes. And just like that, a 13-year-old boy with a full mustache was riding in the back of a truck with a dog and a dream, leaving everything behind because he believed it was the path God wrote for him. But Miami
Created that, and that made it so much easier for me to adopt children because I realized, you know, DNA doesn't matter, bloodlines don't matter.
So that
Family's
was
where the love is.
Yeah, that was another thing I didn't realize about you, that you have adopted a lot of kids. Tell us.
Yeah, I didn't see that in the bingo cards.
Right.
wasn't paradise. It was hard. It was rough. He ended up in Coconut Grove, living in a homeless camp with its own leader and rules.
But my son's mother was living in another state, and she had another life and had kids. And at some point, she faced an addiction crisis.
And his first move there was so wild that Michelle almost couldn't believe it. He bought a brand new mattress and had it delivered to the park. No tent, no protection, just a mattress under the open sky. Every day he walked across the street to the library and read for 8 hours. Books stopped being stories, they became weapons. And while he was in that camp, he learned powerful lessons about addiction. Not the party version, not the Hollywood version, the real version, the broken lives. Former doctors, lawyers, nurses, accountants, all destroyed by drugs. Seeing that at 13 is what made him promise himself he would never touch it. But the hardest moment in Miami wasn't hunger, it wasn't danger, it was selling the Rottweiler puppy he brought with him. He knew he couldn't give that dog the life he deserved while he was sleeping under the sky, so he sold him to a good home. And Katt said something powerful. That's why God let me bring him. He knew I would need that money to survive. Stay right here because what happened next is even more unbelievable, and we're just getting started. The story is about to shift in a way you will not expect.
In crisis, and her children went to the orphanage. So when they called me, I don't have a direct relationship with these children, but they are the siblings of my son. And I did all the research, and I knew that it takes $1 million to raise a child.
After months living in Miami, walking highways, sleeping on that mattress, and fighting to stay alive, Katt's life took another twist that felt like something out of a movie. His family wasn't looking for him. There were no missing child reports, no police calls, no neighborhood search parties, nothing. Even though he came from a huge family in Dayton with over 100 first cousins, grandparents, aunties, uncles, nobody came, nobody knew, nobody searched. When he left at 13, his parents didn't even stay in the same city. They moved the next day. And imagine being a kid alone in another state, not knowing that the people who were supposed to protect you didn't look for you. That kind of pain doesn't leave. It becomes part of you. It shapes you. Then one day, while walking down a highway in Florida,
to raise a child, and I was eager to say, wait a minute, Lord, you're saying I'm going to have $10 million to take care of 10 kids?
Yeah, right.
Fine. Let's do it.
I'm in.
Let's go.
Yeah.
Because you don't want to let me suffer. You're certainly not going to let. And it was best experience.
Slowed down beside him. Katt would later joke that he thought it was a car full of women stopping because he was just that good looking. But it wasn't fans. It was his parents and brothers. No dramatic tears, no hugs, just a quiet, strange moment. They convinced him to come with them, and just like that, he was pulled into the next chapter, a chapter nobody saw coming. They moved to Haiti. Imagine that. A boy who ran away from home at 13 suddenly dropped in one of the poorest countries in the Western Hemisphere, a place where the signs were in French, the people spoke Creole, and nothing looked like the world he knew. But this is where Katt showed how different he really was. Instead of panicking or resisting, he adapted. He taught himself French, he taught himself Creole, and soon he became the only person in his family who could speak both. So he translated everything: church meetings, conversations, signs, directions. He even guided them from village to village. And while walking through Haiti, he discovered babies were dying at a high rate because of dehydration. Mothers didn't know how to mix salt and water properly to keep them alive. So Katt carried pockets full of salt and taught mothers how to save their own children. Imagine that, a 14-year-old runaway boy from Ohio walking through Haitian villages, saving lives with something as simple as salt and water. He saw problems in irrigation too, because he was used to farmland back home. He helped the people around him find better ways to pull water from far distances. He was a teenager living a life more intense than grown men ever face. And he didn't call Haiti punishment, he didn't call it exile, he called it magnificent. He said it was an adventure, another chapter God wrote for him, another path to teach him skills no school would ever teach. After leaving Haiti and returning to the United States, Katt fell into something unexpected: door-to-door sales. He sold cleaning products, books, magazines. Every knock on a door was a test. Different races, faces, energy, vibes. He had to charm people, make them laugh, calm their fears, read the room, and still make the sale. Without even knowing it, he was doing stand-up comedy every day on doorsteps all across America. He was training for the stage without being on a stage. And then came one of the most shocking moments he shared with Michelle Obama, a moment that even she couldn't process at first. Katt knocked on a door where 5 women lived, women who had just seen their pimp get murdered. They were scared, shaken, and without leadership. Katt stepped inside, still dressed like a grown businessman with his white shirt and tie, even though he was still young. And somehow, as crazy as it sounds, he became their leader, their protector, their manager. The women trained him, not in the violence or the street side of things, but in understanding women from the inside out. This was the moment that changed how he saw women forever. Because while most young men grow up learning about women from their friends or from movies or from what they see in the streets, Katt learned from women themselves, real women, broken women, strong women, women who told him everything they hated about men, everything that scared them, everything that disappointed them, everything that hurt them. He would sit there for hours listening to them talk, cry, laugh, and break down the behaviors of men from every walk of life. He didn't stay in that world long, but what he learned stayed with him forever. Those women, along with his deeply religious mother, shaped the way he would treat women for the rest of his life. But this is where the story takes a turn so wild, so unexpected, that even Michelle Obama leaned back in her seat. One night, Katt went with some carnival workers to a comedy club. He didn't belong there, he was too young, he had no ID, and when they asked to see his identification at the door, he was about to be embarrassed. But then, God, as Katt says, stepped in. A man walked past the entire line, said, "I'm a comedian," and the door guy waved him through. "You're number 4. Katt saw the open door, literally, and he stepped right through it. He said, "I'm a comedian too." The guy waved him in. "You're number 5. He had no material, no jokes, no plan, but he had 5 minutes on stage. That night changed his life. He walked up wearing dress pants and a white shirt with his full mustache, because remember, he'd had that mustache since he was 12, and he talked about being the only black person in that city. The audience exploded with laughter, not because he was trying to be funny, but because he was telling the truth, real truth, painful truth. And for the first time, he felt what he knew since childhood, the applause in his spirit. He walked off stage confused, but he felt something electric inside, something real, something like destiny whispering, "This is where you belong." But the most unbelievable moment came later when he looked at Michelle and said something that made her pause. He told her, "You and your husband are superheroes. Not celebrities, not political figures, superheroes." He said the country placed impossible expectations on them, perfection, no mistakes, no flaws, and somehow they carried all that weight with grace. He told her in 100 years, people would look back and remember the pride they brought to millions. The room fell silent. Michelle was moved. Katt was serious. For a moment, the comedian became the philosopher, the truth-teller, the man behind the jokes. But his story didn't stop there. He revealed something even deeper. He adopted the siblings of his biological son when their mother struggled with addiction. He was making less than $25,000 a year, but he still took them in. Most people would say they couldn't afford it, but Katt said something different. He said if God was asking him to raise those kids, then God would have to provide everything needed. He chose responsibility over excuses. He chose love over fear, and he raised those kids all while building his career. He even talked about the pain no parent wants to face, losing a child. And he didn't sugarcoat it. He said it's the worst thing that can happen on earth. You don't recover, you just learn to keep moving. And he opened up about raising a child with special needs. He called autistic children angels, pure souls who don't know jealousy or manipulation. He said sometimes the people with disabilities are more peaceful than the so-called normal people who carry negativity inside them. Today, Katt lives on a farm with over 100 ducks, 100 geese, cows, pigs, goats, sheep, and animals most people never see. He calls it heaven on earth, not just the name of his tour, but his life philosophy. He said if you believe heaven is real, you should start building a version of it right now. And when Michelle asked him for advice for young artists, he didn't talk about managers or social media or going viral. He talked about God. He said, take the pressure off yourself. Put it on him. He has promises in his book. You can ask him to show up. He said every impossible moment in his life started as a terrible idea right before God turned it into a blessing. And the craziest part? This is only the beginning. The next part is even deeper. As Katt continued talking with Michelle Obama and Craig Robinson, the energy in the room shifted even more. It wasn't just a conversation anymore. It was a full unpacking of a life almost too unbelievable to be real. And if you're still watching this video right now, this is where things get even more emotional, even more surprising, and even more powerful. Stay with me until the end, because the final chapters of his story will shock you in ways you don't expect. When Katt talked about his early life, there was no bitterness in his voice, no anger, no resentment. And that's what surprised Michelle the most. Most people who survive the things he survived carry the pain on their face. You can hear it in their tone. But with Katt, it was different. He talked about trauma the way other people talk about traffic. Not because it didn't hurt, but because he had already transformed it. He had already built something out of it. He had turned every wound into wisdom. Michelle asked him why he always describes his childhood pain as something meant to happen, something designed for him. And he said something beautiful, something that shows exactly why his mind works the way it does. He said he grew up reading Bible stories, and in every Bible story the chosen people suffer first. Joseph had to go into the pit. David had to hide in caves. Moses had to leave everything behind. Jesus had to walk into danger. Pain wasn't a punishment, it was the beginning of a calling. So when his life was hard, he didn't see it as unfair, he saw it as proof. Proof that he was chosen, proof that he had a mission. That mindset is what kept him alive when everything around him was falling apart. Craig Robinson asked him about leaving home at 13, and Katt laughed in that soft, humble way he does when something hurts, but he's made peace with it. He said, when most people say, I left home young, they mean 17 or 18, but he actually meant 13, a child, a little boy with a mustache, a suitcase, and a dog. And instead of letting that image break him, he made it mythic. He made it legendary. He took ownership of it. He spoke it like it was destiny. When he talked about sleeping in that park in Miami, the room got quiet. Michelle leaned forward. Craig fell still. Katt described the mattress in the park like it was a throne, like it was a lesson from God. He said he slept under the stars and never felt alone. The sounds of the street were terrifying, yes, but they were also teaching him things. Teaching him how to sense danger, teaching him how to feel the energy of people around him, teaching him how to survive without fear. And the library across the street became his school. He said reading 8 hours a day gave him something priceless: courage, knowledge, a way to understand the world he was living in. And then he said something that changed the whole tone of the room, something that made Michelle shake her head slowly like she was trying to process it. He said that in that homeless camp, the people around him weren't what society calls junkies. They were former doctors, former lawyers, former nurses, former business owners, people with real degrees, real careers, real lives. But addiction broke them. And seeing that at 13 made him promise himself he would never chase any drug in his life. He said, I've never seen anyone having fun with drugs. I only saw people at the end of the road. Then Michelle asked about the Rottweiler, and what Katt said next was heartbreaking and wise at the same time. He said he sold the dog because he realized the dog didn't choose the homeless life, he did, and it wasn't fair to drag an innocent animal through that. He said, if I was old enough to bring him, I had to be old enough to give him a better life. That decision didn't break him, it strengthened him. It reminded him that every painful choice has a lesson behind it. When he talked about Haiti, the room brightened a little, not because the story was easy, but because of the way he spoke about it. Haiti was poor, Haiti was dangerous, Haiti was difficult, but Katt didn't describe it like a nightmare. He described it like a spiritual boot camp. He talked about walking through villages with salt in his pocket like he was carrying magic, teaching mothers how to save their babies with something so simple. And when Michelle asked how he figured that out, he said something that shows how deeply he pays attention to the world. He said he watched people. He studied what they lacked. He studied what they needed. And he gave whatever he could. Craig asked him about learning languages, and Katt explained that he didn't learn French because he wanted to. He learned it because nobody else in the family could. He learned Creole because he needed to talk to the people around him. And once he learned both, he became responsible for the entire family's ability to function in that country. Again, a teenager doing the job of an adult. And instead of being overwhelmed, he felt honored. He felt like God trusted him with something bigger than himself. Back in America, when he fell into door-to-door sales, Michelle burst out laughing because she said she couldn't imagine Katt walking up to random houses selling cleaning products. But he said it with a straight face. Door-to-door sales made him the comedian he is today. He had to read people in 5 seconds. He had to make them trust him, make them laugh, make them interested, make them comfortable, all in the time it takes someone to decide whether they're closing the door or inviting you in. That kind of pressure builds a level of charisma you can't learn in a classroom. But then he told the story that froze the entire room, the story of knocking on the door of 5 sex workers whose protector had just been killed. Michelle sat back, Craig blinked hard, even the crew behind the cameras went silent, because the idea of a young Katt Williams stepping into that world sounded unreal. But Katt made it clear, he wasn't there to exploit them, he wasn't there to be the stereotype. They taught him, they protected him, they helped raise him. They taught him how to see women through their eyes, not the eyes of men who hurt them. He listened to them talk for hours about fear, about disrespect, about what they wished men understood. He said that experience made him the man he is today, a man who speaks about women with a certain softness and understanding. And Michelle nodded because she could feel the truth in it. Then came the comedy club story, and Michelle laughed so hard she almost lost her breath. Katt explained how he got on stage by accident, no ID, too young, almost kicked out, until that man showed up who said, "I'm a comedian." Katt followed his example and ended up performing with no preparation, no jokes, just pure truth. And that first laugh from the audience hit him like a lightning bolt. It woke something in him, something he didn't know how to explain at the time, something powerful. But the moment that made Michelle emotional, truly emotional, was when Katt called the Obamas superheroes, when he said the expectations placed on them were impossible, but they carried them gracefully. When he said, "You were the pride of a nation," and Michelle didn't have a joke for that. She didn't deflect, she didn't shift the moment, she just let it sink in. And right after that, Katt revealed something even harder, adopting the siblings of his son when his mother fell into addiction. He said he had nothing. He was making less than $25,000 a year, but he believed that if God asks you to raise kids, God will give you everything you need. So he said yes. Most people choose the easy path. Katt chose the love path, and that changed his life forever. Then he talked about losing a child, and the whole room got quiet again. Not a breath, not a joke, just the truth. He said you don't heal from that. You learn to walk with it. You learn to keep going. And then he talked about raising a child with special needs and how he sees autistic children as angels. He said they don't know jealousy, they don't know manipulation, they don't know hate. They are pure souls, better than most normal people, he said with a soft smile. And now, after everything, homelessness, Haiti, heartbreak, he lives on a farm with animals everywhere. Ducks, geese, cows, pigs, goats, sheep, a place he built with his own hands, a place he calls heaven on earth. And he said, if you believe in heaven, start building your version now, today. And finally, Michelle asked him for advice, and he didn't talk about fame, he didn't talk about agents, he didn't talk about Hollywood, he talked about God. He said, take the pressure off you, put the pressure on him. He has promises. He has to show up when you call. And he said every blessing in his life came disguised as a terrible idea right before it became a miracle.